Namaskaram to everyone. Last week, we studied the 10th verse. The title of the 10th verse, without cause, there is no effect. And we thoroughly examined, or at least we attempted to ponder on the subject of the law of causation. A quick mention before I get into the verse. We learned that everything in life is governed by this principle of the law of causation. The law of causation talks that everything has a cause and effect relationship in life. Everything in life has a cause and effect relationship, including our lives. The law of causation consists of the two laws. First is the law of destiny. The law of destiny connects the past to the present. It clearly mentions that you are a product of your past. Destiny always refers to the present moment. This moment is defined by one's own past actions, this moment backwards. Law of karma is an extension of the law of destiny, which says not only you are a product of the past, you're also a producer of the future. So the law of causation, the law of karma, and the law of destiny, it's a law. For God's sake, we must understand it's a law, and it functions meticulously. It is immaculate in its functioning. Now, when we try to bring and try to understand and fathom why are we going through whatever one is subjected to, it is very difficult. It becomes very challenging to understand this law because of the multifold actions one is performing. You're not trying to understand your present with one action or a few actions. It's the sheer complexity of the actions that we're performing, the complexity of the nature of the actions. Our actions are of selfish nature, our actions of an unselfish nature, and sometimes we perform actions of selfless nature. So the complexity, the mixture of all these actions makes it very difficult to understand what is the fruits of all of that and what is the destiny. It becomes very difficult to understand unless and until you have what is known as Medha Shakti. Again, it's an attribute of the intellect. It is a clarity born out of the wisdom gathered through the study of these scriptures or shastras. You have that wisdom and foresight, that clarity to be able to pick up every cause and effect, every action. You clearly, like yesterday I was talking to someone, I was telling of an action which I had done and how faithfully that action has produced an effect. And that act was done without any axe to grind, without any motive, without any intention, and a pure divine act of selfless service, and how that act rewards in enabling the cause of the work of advancing this Sanatana Dharma. How every action pays off. But if you do with an anxiety to reap a fruit, you will not get the fruit. Because let's say you may be saying, I'm trying to teach this knowledge, I'm trying to impart this knowledge. You may say the action by itself is divine, but if there is an axe to grind, if there is a motive in mind, this action would be deemed selfish. It's not what you do, it is the intention that matters. So if my intention is selfish and self-centered, it will accrue appropriate fruits. So you're constantly performing actions of a meritorious nature, which accrue merit, and certain actions which accrue demerit. And also there's a certain belief that if I had done one action which accrues demerit, if I perform an action of merit, it will do anti-cancelling. So there's nothing called as anti-cancelling or anti-cancelling. The cancelling concept doesn't exist. So what exists? You will have to reap the fruits of your meritorious deeds. You'll have to also receive gracefully the fruits of actions which has incurred demerit. It is not that merit will counter demerit and it becomes neutral, so you don't face consequences. There's nothing like that. All right. So when you understand this, you will learn to accept life very gracefully. You have no complaints of what life has subjected you through, because you understand the law is functioning impartially, meticulously. You accept life very gracefully. And one has no choice but to face the consequences of our own past actions. Another point we passingly did mention, that nothing in life is predestined. Everything is your own making. If you were to surrender to the idea that its life is predestined, then what would happen if you give in to the idea that it is predestined or predefined? What would happen? What would be the psyche of a person if you surrender to the idea it's predestined? Sriniji? It's not true, but I'm just saying what would be the thought process?
I think if you leave it to, you're saying it's part of, you're being very fatalistic. That's what I would.
Yeah.
Correct. And that nothing is guided by yourself, but it's just pure fate.
Yeah. Then what would it result in if you say life is fatalistic, or it's all fate that determines what I am, what I would be? What would happen?
You get lazy and you accept what goes on and the outcomes as it is, and just that's what you get to
become
Rajasic or whatever, right?
No. Rajasic is different. Tamasic is good. You're using the words, huh?
Trying to.
So tamasic is where you become complacent. You become
all right.
You just accept. Tamasic is where you don't act. Your action stops. You become completely incapacitated because you believe you can't influence it. It's almost an acceptance that this is what it is, and you can't do anything about it. And it's a very depressing feeling that you can't do anything about life, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Very, very depressing, very, very pessimistic attitude to believe that it is molded by other factors. And also we did mention that there's nothing other than your own actions that determine your fate. You got to almost come to terms with it. But many people believe there are factors other than one's own actions that is responsible for what you are. I think there's something called as black magic. Huh? Sriniji, have you heard of it?
Yes, I have.
Do you believe in it?
Witnessed it. I haven't witnessed it.
Now, do you think there's any truth in it?
Well, it depends on the belief of the person, right? Some people who believe that in that, they have faith in it. So I can't, there's no scientific evidence to it, is what I would believe.
See, in a branch of knowledge where we are so rational, there is no room for faiths and belief systems here, isn't it? It's not what I believe in or what I imagine or have a faith in a particular thought or a concept, but is there a way where you can justify it by giving logic and reason? And when you apply that, it is just coincidental. And you start connecting these coincidences in your life to certain belief systems or certain perceptions, and you say, this happens because of that.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it just brings me to the concept of the evolution of the human intellect. I will come to that. I'll just come to that, but I think Sriniji, another Sriniji wants to say something. Srinivas Reddy Garu.
Namaskaram, Guruji.
Namaskaram, sir. Namaskaram.
Yeah, I think once we define the destiny we know, I think the life become nil. I think there is no intellect, no thinking, and there's no challenge in the life. And as rightly said, we think we dwell in the tamasic properties or gunas, what we can through that. I think there is no future because it is being defined by someone. It's not defined by yourself.
Correct. Very true. So there is, life ceases to exist.
Yes.
Because what is it that life thrives on? If there's one thing that life thrives on, what is it life thrives on?
To do something, the motivation, aspiring something to do for the betterment of self, for the society. There's so many things which propels you the moment you wake up in the morning. But I think all becomes, because there is no need, because it is not your efforts, it has been defined by somebody's effort or some invisible efforts which are driving you.
You're right. What life thrives on is action.
Action, yeah.
The moment you give up action,
that's right,
life ceases to exist. Exactly. Action is the insignia of life. And if the moment I believe that my actions has no influence in molding my destiny, you surrender to fate. And that's the worst thing to happen in life. And that's a failure. That's the beginning of your failure, beginning of your downfall. Inaction is death.
Right.
So, but to just believe in this, in the concept that I have the capacity to override, undo, negate my past and build a future from this moment onwards is such an optimistic thought. It doesn't matter what I have been thus far. The moment I choose my action this moment onwards, it's a beautiful belief or a system, a thought that you can make anything.
That's true.
And that's what Vedanta makes us believe in. Or not just believe, it's just a matter of convinces you that you are only a product of the past. You are a pessimist if you look back, but you're a producer. You look into the future, you're an optimist. It's an amazing school of thought. Amazing school of thought. Now, yes, Ji. There's a question here. Why do people believe in horoscope and astrological predictions? Is it because they think everything is predetermined? See, it is only the weak minds that resort to these other shastras. They also Vastu Shastra. They call themselves also a science. But if you go into the Vedic scriptures and the Shastric studies, which we are also, what we are learning also is Shastras. And if you get to the highest declarations, the Vedantic declarations, the Upanishadic declarations are the highest truths ever known to mankind. There's nothing greater than that. And when you go into these truths and declarations, they dismiss every other school of thought. They don't accommodate. Don't ask me why, because I have no prejudice when I say this, but this is the highest school of thought which upholds the knowledge which we are trying to understand. So it's only the weak minds who don't believe that my life is molded by my actions. I resort to external factors. I don't mind sitting on a footpath and showing my palm to a palmist for him to tell me what is my future going to be. An ounce of intellect, if I have, I've seen people getting down from their chauffeur-driven car, they get down from a Mercedes, and they don't mind sitting on a footpath where pedestrians and so much of hangama activity is going on. They go and sit with him, show their palm. I want to ask the palmist, what is your state? Why are you sitting on the footpath? What about your future? You are telling about others' future. Is my life going to be determined by a parrot? Or a star or a planet I do not know it exists? Or a collision of certain factors over which I have no control? I'm sorry. I don't want to surrender to the fact that my life is being determined and will be defined by factors over which I have no control. The masters and shastras say, you are a shaft or a masterpiece of creation. And what makes you a masterpiece is because you can command the world. And what gives you that ability is this understanding that it's your actions alone that define. Others may be instrumental, may be contributing, but ultimately it is your own actions. See, I create, like for example, just before this class, if I don't have the right mental climate, if I don't have the mental atmosphere which I had created in my mind, it's impossible for me to make sense or even impart this knowledge, isn't it? So the mental climate I create, so I come, I play a bhajan, I entertain, I calm my mind, I may sit quietly for 5-10 minutes to meditate or whatever. I study the shastras, I do my own sadhana, just to create the right mental climate, which is conducive so that I get on with my activity. So there are factors which are conducive to you, but vis-a-vis, you can't say it is responsible for your future. A classic example is soil is conducive for the seed to sprout. But when you pluck the mangoes and you enjoy the fruit, would you attribute the quality of the mango to the soil or the seed? Ramji?
Pranam, Guruji.
Namaskar, sir.
In agricultural science, both have a role to play.
Sir, I have completely forgotten whom I'm asking. I'm asking a wrong question, a right question, a wrong question to a wrong person. I am completely ignorant.
So I'm saying that both have a role to play. The soil has a limited role to play when the seed sprouts, but the quality of the seed has a longer role to play. It will actually make the plant what it is finally.
Absolutely. I'm glad it can't be anybody else other than you. I didn't, for a moment, I was blank when I asked that question. Sir, can you give a brief introduction as to what you are, sir? Because it will dawn on others what I'm talking about.
Oh, no. I studied agriculture, and then I have been in the field of agriculture for the last 40 years. I worked in India and outside India in the field of agriculture. And for the last 20 years, I'm in the field of seeds. So that's why it was easy for me to
So I hope I conveyed the message.
Yeah.
Are factors which contribute or are instrumental in your conditioning, but ultimately what defines is the seed. They nurture the seed though, but it is the seed that defines the plant or the fruit. Similarly, it's one's own actions that determine and define who you are, what you are. So the attempt is to to take the onus of your life onto yourself. All right? Ushama, no, I didn't ask that question purposely, ma. All right. Okay. So I only want to conclude with this concept of karma, that moment you understand how the law of karma, of cause and effect functions, instantly you feel a sense of fear. There is a bhaya, because I can't escape any effect of the actions I perform, knowingly or unknowingly, consciously or unconsciously. You may do it, but you have to face the consequences of your actions. And when you see a person suffering, the only thing that dawns on me is, what could have that person done to deserve it? What could have that person done? So the law of karma is only it injects that greater level of awareness so that you become conscious of your own actions. Just because you do not know what you have done, you can't say the law is not functioning. The law is functioning. It will function. Sriniji, all okay? Okay, right. So the 10th verse that we got into, can I have the verse, please? So this is the verse. Vayasigate kaha kama vikaraha shushke nire kaha kasaraha kshine vitte kaha parivaro jnate tattve kaha samsaraha. So the verse here again is only trying to bring out the concept of the analogy of the principle of cause and effect, not an analogy, but the principle of cause and effect. So the first principle, so the verse is giving 4 simple epigrams illustrating this principle which we spoke about. The first is, when age, youth is gone, where is the play of lust? When water has dried, where is the lake? When wealth is gone, where is the retinue? When essence of the reality is realized, where is samsara, the terrestrial entanglement? Okay, the first one, he says, when age is gone, where is the play of lust? Vayasigate kaha kama vikaraha. Now, youth, when you're young, there is passion, there's craving, there is lust, there is the desires, and where there is youth, yes sir, thank you. So when there is this youth, there is the ability to satisfy any desire. You're able to pursue and act and try and attain whatever your desires are. So what is there when you are young is kama. Now the 2 things, the 2 words here you got to understand is this: kama vikaraha. Kama vikaraha means the play of lust, means you're not able to act on the desire because you have the no capacity to enjoy. Youth gives you the capacity to enjoy any sense object, isn't it? But as you grow old, your body loses its capacity to enjoy sense objects, isn't it? There is a inability. Your body becomes diseased. It becomes incapable. But what doesn't die is kama vicharaha. Kama vikaraha is different to kama vicharaha. Kama vicharaha means that the thought of that sense enjoyment still lingers. So there is that lust for power, lust for position, lust for status, lust for woman, lust for anything you want to acquire. So the desire to possess and enjoy is there. The thinking is there, but the capacity loses. You lose the capacity to enjoy. Have we not seen people in position, in politics, who have held on to power even when they have no capacity to rule a nation. They have ruled. Can you think of names of people who held on to power even beyond their time? They're not wanted, but still they're holding on to power. Can you think of names, anyone? Anant, any idea? There is some noise coming. No, we're not able to. There's some. Give it a last try, Anand. No, there's some funny noise coming in. Maybe you could use the chat to communicate. Meanwhile, Vijayji, examples of people who have held on to power.
The one which easily comes to my mind is Mugabe.
Yeah.
There are many, I suppose, but it's a matter of a little grayness is there as to when they should have given up or not given up. But this was a distinct case, I suppose.
Yes. Yeah. Any other thought? Lust for position or proprietary, wanting to own, wanting to enjoy, that desire, that craving, that wanting, that doesn't die. What dies is your ability to enjoy it, but the wanting doesn't die. The wanting never ends. So kama vikaraha, kama vicharaha. In fact, I had a shock of my life. When there was an elderly gentleman who was in his 80s back in Malaysia in early 2000, 2003, 2004. I remember the gentleman came up to me. He could barely walk, but he used to come so religiously every week after week. He came, he used to come and sit, and he was very ardent student, I would say, the respect he had. And it took a while for him to open up. And one day, after everybody left, he slowly walked up to me and said, "Sir, I want to ask you something. I want to confess something to you." I said, "Yes, sir, please." He said, "I have many sensual thoughts coming in my mind. How do I control that?" An 80-year-old man says, "I can't control my mind entertaining these thoughts of lust, of enjoyment, sensual enjoyment. Body, kama vikara, youth has gone, way gone by, but the mind is still, kama vichara is there. So you got to watch out what your mind does to you. Don't fall a prey to it." That's all he's saying. But he's only talking of cause and effect. When water has dried up, where are the lakes? Cause and effect. When summer comes, all the lakes get dried up, awaiting the monsoon to come and refill them up again. Cause and effect, that's all. And then he says, where wealth is gone, when wealth is gone, where is the retinue? All of us, the more you have experienced life, the more you see that the fact of life, isn't it? What is the fact of life? As long as you have a capacity to contribute, there is a following. The moment you lose your capacity to contribute, nobody wants you. Today, I'm able to make sense and contribute to your intellectual wisdom. In some way, you are coming to me. The moment something happens, I'm not able to. I don't even want to ask this question. How many of you are going to be there with me and stand by me? I know the reality of life. Thank God I've read BHAJAGOVINDAM for a while. So I've understood and digested this fact that it's not that you are, I'm not complaining. I'm only trying to explain this. Kshine kit vitte kaha parivaro. Where is the retinue? You perform. What happened after, I'm just talking of sport. What happened when India, when they, in the first test in Australia, we just concluded, they got out for how much they got out? Maybe 40 runs, I think second innings. From a standpoint of strength, they lost the test match within 3 days. And what was the reaction within the cricketing fraternity, especially in India, the die-hard fans, everybody, and including the ex-cricketers, and think this is the worst performance ever. We never expected India to perform and lose that way. In fact, what have we not seen where their effigies, you make an effigy on them, burn them, and then they pelt your houses with stones, and they don't want you, and they need extra Z plus security when the team is coming back to India right from the airport. They need, why? What happens? And the same people, when they perform, one fellow scores a century, one match they won, they put you up in the sky as if you are God incarnated. They construct temples, they'll do pujas, they'll do. Same fellow who do puja to you, the same fellow will bury you also. What? One performance, the fluctuation. So as a sportsman, you should not be swayed by all the ups, nor be dejected by all the downs. The same people who put you at a pedestal, the same people will pull it down. So you're performing not for the sake of spectators. You're performing because you have something to contribute, and to believe that I am not going to be swayed by all this drama that happens around me. And when should you understand this? When should you understand this? Vanitama, I'm sure the same thing applies to even to the film personalities, isn't it? One hit, they all become so famous. Everybody wants contracts. Everybody wants endorsements. You're wanted by everywhere. 2 movies are a flop. Nobody wants you. You pass by in an airport, nobody recognizes you. Nobody wants a selfie with you. Correct?
When you're at your prime.
So when should you understand this concept? Which is you're saying? When you are?
At the prime, at your prime.
When you're in the peak of your life, in the acme of your life, in the best moments of your life, you need to understand this wisdom. So it's too late if you want to embrace this wisdom post-retirement, isn't it? Am I right? Mm-hmm. So, which means you already subjected yourself to the roller coaster of life. The ups and downs has already tormented you. So you already paid the price of life. And what's the point learning these truths after you have paid the price, after life has had a toll on you? But imagine if you are a little better prepared to handle all of these fluctuations, whether be it praise, whether be it censure, whether be it profit, whether be it loss, whether be it love, whether be hatred, to be able to understand the reality of life, how beautiful life can be, isn't it, Vanitama?
Yeah.
And if you look at life, are people prepared to face what life is throwing at them?
Not really.
Sorry?
Not really, I said.
Maybe you can take a mic and let the world hear that. So what is it you think that holds them back from imbibing these values?
Ignorance.
One is ignorance. So don't we think we should do something to let them know? Is there a way we can address this ignorance of people?
through knowledge, I suppose.
Yeah, the only way is let them know, isn't it? Ignorance, or just a certain ego that, I know it. I know it all. It's the youth. In fact, in the next verse is going to say, very soon we're going to get into it. He says it's the ego that how it builds that a sense of notion, I know everything, and you don't want to heed to anything. Isn't it? So whatever be the walk of life, you must understand this. So when people come to you, they're not coming for you because they're coming, you have something to contribute towards their well-being. Remember this in life. If people are coming with business propositions to you, it's not because they love you. They love what you bring, what you offer to the table. So be objective and understand that. Understand the selfishness of dependence, the selfishness of your near and dear. It's a fact of life. Don't complain at it. Understand that. Very rarely you find people who are truly interested in your well-being. Just put yourself through difficulty and see how many stand by you. Still, the words of that lady whom we mentioned last week resonate in my mind. That lady who we spoke about, who I said she was paralyzed from neck down, who's running an orphanage, trying to provide for the well-beings of those kids. She said, after that tragedy, none of their near and dear were there. She has 2 siblings, nobody's available, nobody's interested, nobody cares, nobody's bothered. Life certainly teaches this to you. So, in short, this knowledge is nothing but something which gives you mental insurance. If you're not insured yourself, you are exposing yourself to the facts of life. Nobody is interested in your well-being, including your near and dear. Understand this. Very rarely you find people who are genuinely interested in your well-being. Therefore, he says, Kshine vitte kaha parivaro. And lastly, he says, Jnate tattve kaha samsaraha. Where there is this wisdom, when you have this knowledge of the higher, there is no more kaha samsaraha. Samsaraha, as we philosophically put, entanglement, mental entanglement. So you will be liberated from all the worry and anxiety that arise because of your own attachments and entanglement in the world. Perhaps there will be another opportunity for me to dwell in detail on this concept. We'll come to it. Now, yes, I think I did mention that I'll come back to this concept of the 4 stages of the human intellect, isn't it? It's worth mentioning because you may be able to connect and it'll resonate the idea of the law of causation. The first stage of human intellect is known as age of perception or age of gazing. Now, this was the first stage of human intellect, perhaps generations ago, when the intellect first evolved. It was in the first stage, age of perception or age of gazing, where you just merely perceived and gazed at the world. Age of perception or age of gazing is, you look at cattle. When cattle look at the world, I wonder, whenever I look at a cattle, they're sitting quietly and looking things happening around them. But what is happening within them? Is anything happening within them? Nothing is happening. Because why? That cow or cattle has decided to park itself in the center of the road. On a busy stretch of road, it decides to come and sit and is chewing the cud. It's sitting there. And all the chaos that's happening around it, even a small ray of thought doesn't come into it. I think I'm causing a little bit of chaos around me. Let me park myself a few meters away. Then I'll be causing a little less discomfort to others. No thought, mere gazing, mere perception. They just look around what's happening. Nothing is happening inside, empty. Full empty. That's the first stage of intellect. The second stage of intellect is it took perhaps generations for this evolution to happen, where the intellect evolved from age of perception to age of superstition. Now, age of superstition is where you start connecting a cause and effect. But you start connecting a wrong cause to a wrong effect. When people are superstitious, when you are influenced by beliefs and superstitions, you start connecting cause and effect, but you usually do a wrong cause to a wrong effect. Now, can you give examples of age of superstition? If I may, I would like to ask Ramesh Krishnanji.
Yes, sir.
Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Coming for the first time today?
No, I've been coming in the beginning, and
right.
then I moved to Portland, and I missed the timings. Today also I missed the timings, then one of my friends called me.
Oh, that's nice. Glad you could join. So I hope you follow the context of the question. Can you give examples of age of superstition?
Can you? Age of superstition, huh?
Yep.
What do you mean? I mean, even today, I see, I'm quite superstitious when I'm listening to you. You were talking about referring astrology and all this stuff.
Okay.
Today also, I think I'm sometimes superstitious.
Okay.
So I don't know how to differentiate the age of superstition. The age of superstition has been throughout,
Yes.
And as we get older, I think we get more superstitious.
Yep.
Sometimes.
Understandable.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm not saying it is right or wrong. I'm only trying to understand and explain what age of superstition is. So can you give examples of what age of superstition is?
Okay. I'm not very sure. Sorry, sir.
Oh, no problem. Anybody?
Okay.
No problem, sir. No problem. What are examples of age of superstition? Or any superstitious belief, rather?
Okay.
Vijayji?
Guruji, the most unfair or serious superstition I've come across is about the girls who are born under one star won't get married or will not be bringing auspicious things to the family into which she gets married.
Very true. Yes, that's.
I mean, there are so many girls born in the same star and everybody must be all right. But I mean, I look at it, they don't have sufficient evidence, but then, without the evidence, they just still correlate it.
Just because there are 100 cases, 1,000 cases, does it become evidence? Can you pass it as a law?
It's not a strong enough correlation, even if it were true. I don't have the data either way anyway.
Even if you had the data to analyze, just because there are 1,000 cases, can you pass it as a law and say, just because you're born in this star, therefore these are the effects and things? Can we?
Absolutely no.
I think a few are rolling by here. A cat crossing, especially if it's a black fellow, very, very inauspicious. Something terrible is going to happen. Especially when you're leaving the house, somebody sneezes. I can have a dust allergy and I'm sneezing. Very inauspicious. Please sit down. You can't leave the house for the next 15 minutes. It can be an urgent appointment. Yet, good muhurtam for the marriage. Oh, so important, the muhurtam. Now, I want to ask all these pundits and people who go by muhurtam and all. Let's say tomorrow you have to be rushed into a hospital for a surgery. Would you, the same person will go by muhurtam? Somebody, was it today or when was it? I think yesterday, I'm not sure. We spoke about doctors and how they are literally the hands of God. Was it yesterday? I think Ramji, did you mention that? Was it Ramji? Yeah, okay. So, would you not surrender to those hands of God and say, I live in your best wisdom to save me? Or did you say, no, I want to bring an astrologer and Let him decide when I should go through the surgery. I'm not attacking or targeting anyone, but when you start correlating a particular cause to a particular effect without any scientific bearing, it is known as age of superstition. What has the black cat got to do with me meeting with an accident? I don't understand this. I know people, sportsmen, they tie a string around their wrist, or they wear a chain around their neck, or they have some funny things. They have a sticker placed on their, it could be a particular number. Yes. In fact, in Chinese, if I'm not wrong, 14 is a very inauspicious number. What, Vijaya? Is it 14 or 12?
It's 4, number 4.
4.
That's why they say 3A.
14 also. So in lifts in Malaysia or wherever, I think this Chinese developers, in fact, Malaysia, everywhere, anywhere 4 is 3A in the lift. 14 is 13A. 24 is 23A. They'll never call 4. So inauspicious number for them. So in the beginning, when we want, what is this 23A? What is 13A? We didn't understand. So it's all those systems you are conditioned with. And once you don't think rationally, you start accepting and believing that your life is determined and defined by those belief systems. Superstition, age of superstition. 9 is considered very lucky. Huh? I didn't know that. I don't want to go through even the list. The list is unending. So you have only triggered the thought process, age of superstition. And then came an era where there is age of scientific inquiry. The age of scientific inquiry is where you connect a particular cause to a particular effect, but there is a precise reasoning between the cause and effect. You connect a right cause to right effect. Like 2 atoms of hydrogen plus an atom of oxygen combined to form a molecule of water. This is the formula for water, H2O. This is a cause and effect. It's science. It's pure logic and reason. And so on and so forth. The gravitational law, the various physiological laws, the psychological laws, all that science talks about is based on this age of scientific inquiry. Now, why are the younger generation not embracing these values? Is because, can anyone tell me why? Why is it a challenge to bring them to this knowledge? Because as parents, we've only been imposing tradition and culture onto them without really giving them a reason and logical understanding as to why they should do. On Mondays, you should go to this temple. On this day, you must go to that temple. You must do this puja. You must do this that way. You carry a coconut to the temple. You do this and do that. So many do's and don'ts, imposing them with this cultural imposition, but not genuinely giving them a reason. Why should I do it? Why should I go to a temple? Why should I put a tilak on my forehead? Why should I break a coconut? Nobody seems to understand, but yet it is done mechanically. But when somebody asks reasons, you don't have an answer. Since you don't satisfy their inquisitive mind, their rational mind, they are averse to accepting and respecting tradition. So this is the reason why the youngsters don't accept gracefully what these culturally sound principles we want to live by, is because we are not approaching it with age of scientific inquiry. Now, the highest stage of human intellect is age of contemplation. Age of contemplation is when the intellect posits a transcendental entity. You conceive the transcendental. You posit. The moment you ask, is there God? Is there anything beyond the known realms? That very question posits another aspect of your intellect, which is known as the subtle intellect, which is the highest of all, where you explore the unknown truth. And to do that, you must be in the age of contemplation. The highest of human intellectual development is to inquire and study the subject matter, which is the unknown truth, God, the Brahman, the reality. And that's only possible when the intellect is of the highest order. So quickly, the age of perception or gazing, age of superstition, age of scientific inquiry, vis-a-vis the age of contemplation. So find out which age you belong to. Not your physical age, but the intellectual age. All right? Intellect, Rajima, intellect is not evolving, intellect is devolving. It has evolved to the highest state and intellect is devolving. So we need entire effort is to resurrect the human intellect, to wake it up. All right.